welcome back to Off Meta Musings. I'm your host Aitan, and today we're going to be looking at allies, and specifically we're going to start with the Grand Alliance Death. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be looking not at just listing out all of the different heroes that you could take, but I'm going to be looking at the most popular allies that people are actually taking in their lists to tournaments. So in reality, there are something like 40 heroes in the entire Death Grand Alliance that you can pick from. But the question that's really asked by players is, what ally should I take? What should I be bringing? How should I be including it in my lists? Now, there are a lot of not very good picks. So this is why today I'm going to go over the most common allies that players are seeing in their list building, why they're bringing them, what they're bringing them for, why they're making their way into lists. Now, it is worth noting that these allies were essentially taken from the various events that I've been to over the last few months, as well as lists that have come out from other events and stuff that we've been seeing on the Warcry Discord and the Warcry Reddit pages. So yeah, that's where I got everything from. But yeah, without further ado, let's get going. Now, first I wanted to talk about the Varghulf Courtier. When you're picking an ally, you're going to pick it depending on the tactical niche that you want to fill. And most commonly, it seems that most warbands are taking an ally specifically to be a very fast, very hard-hitting fighter. So you want something with good speed, maybe the fly room mark, and really good damage output. And this is really where the Varghulf kind of comes into its own. We can take a look at it here. It's 285 points. It's got range 2 on its attacks, which is pretty good. It allows it to really stretch out and give it just that extra little bit of range. It's got 3 attacks at strength 5, which is nice. As we know, the majority of fighters you're going to be facing in Warcry are sitting at toughness 3 and 4. And it's got 3-5 damage profile, which is really, really good. It's got 8 base move, which is nice. It's got toughness 4, which is fairly similar to most other fighters of its type, and it's got 35 wounds, so it's extremely tanky. It has a number of abilities here, but the ability that you're really taking it for is going to be the triple Terrifying Frenzy. So just to recap this, Terrifying Frenzy reads that you add 3 to the attacks characteristic of the next melee attack action made by this fighter this activation. So if the Varghulf itself has 3 attacks, you can use Terrifying Frenzy to effectively double that, which is very good. If you get to attack twice, then it's almost the same as being able to rampage. If you just do a move attack action with the Varghulf, you can move in, pop Terrifying Frenzy, and effectively attack. We can see how much damage it's actually doing. There's one thing that I want to mention here. I've got a weighted damage profile of 7.19, and it works on the assumption that 25% of the fighters in the game you're going to be facing are going to be toughness 3, so you'll be winning them on 3s. 50% of the fighters are going to be toughness 4, so again, with the Varghulf, you'll be winning on 3s. And 25% of the fighters are going to be sitting at a toughness of higher than 4. The damage per point that I've got here is very straightforward. We take the weighted damage that the Varghulf can do, we divide it by the amount of points that it costs, and effectively this kind of gives a rough efficiency value for the Varghulf. When we're looking at damage per point, we see that anything with a value of less than 25 is in the top third or so of all fighters in the game, so that makes them pretty efficient. The Varghulf itself is doing 7.19 damage just out of a normal attack, which isn't quite enough to one-shot your common 8 wounds chaff fighters that you see, but once you pop Frenzy, it effectively doubles that damage, and we're looking at 15 points of damage, which puts it well into the range of one-shotting chaff units, and most of the way to killing most mid-range fighters. Most Stormcast, your basic guys, we're looking at 20 wounds, so just knocking 15 wounds off of a Stormcast in one attack is pretty good. Now, for everything that I've said, the Varghulf is still fairly expensive at 285 points, so it's probably best suited in warbands that can either put a lot of cheap fighters out on the field, maybe like Ossiarch Bone Reapers or Soulblight Gravelords, or fight warbands with low base damage, but otherwise good disruption abilities, being able to go get objectives, get treasure, so something like Nighthaunt. Moving on, we have the Dreadblade Harrow. Now, the Dreadblade Harrow is actually the most popular death ally that we're going to see, and the reason really is twofold. One, its stats are actually pretty good. It costs 235 points, which isn't amazingly expensive. It's got a fairly average damage profile, but you can see because it's Nighthaunt, it's got the big movement of 10, and it's got the fly room marks, so it can effectively get anywhere it needs to get to. And secondly, its abilities. Now, it's got two abilities really that we care about. One is the Phantasmal Discorporation triple, which is effectively a teleport across the battlefield. So generally what we're going to be doing is we're going to be having our Dreadblade Harrow on the battlefield on turn 1. If it's a treasure mission, the Harrow will use Phantasmal Discorporation, teleport towards the treasure, and then go move, and effectively get away with the treasure once it's picked it up. Alternatively, if the treasure's close enough, the Dreadblade Harrow can go move, pick up the treasure, and then just teleport away. Effectively, that treasure is yours, and your opponent really isn't going to be able to catch it because it's such a high movement. It's really going to be able to keep out of the way. The second ability of note that it's got is Spectral Summon. It effectively reads that you pick a friendly fighter that's already been taken down, and you can set that fighter up again on the battlefield, wholly within 3 inches of this fighter. The fighter that's been taken down is no longer taken down, and it gets a number of wounds equal to the value of the triple that you used. So this is really good. It effectively allows you to reuse fighters that have died already. If the fighter either hadn't activated already that turn and died, or was around last turn and died last turn, when you use Spectral Summon to bring it back, that fighter can then activate and it can act normally, which is very strong. It's worth noting also that it's effectively a teleport for the fighter who died. So the fighter could be way across the battlefield on your turn, it gets charged, it dies, you Spectral Summon, and then it teleports wherever the Dreadblade Harrow is. So that's effectively why you're taking it. Those two triples, really strong for different reasons. Again, we're looking at its damage. It's doing an average weighted damage of 6, which isn't amazing, but it's not terrible either. But again, that's not really why it's taking it. We're taking it for its speed and its utility. Now, talking about Spectral Summon, I've got two options here. I've got the Dreadwarden and I've got the Craven Huntmaster. You can see the damage isn't fantastic. You would take one of these two generally if you specifically wanted the Spectral Summon triple and you already had something that would fill the role of the Dreadblade Harrow. So maybe you've already got a fast treasure or objective capturing unit and you wanted to split that ability up from that fighter so that you don't have all your eggs in one basket. Generally, we're looking at one of these two. The Dreadwarden's the cheapest at 125 points. It gives it a little bit of maneuverability, which is nice. Again, it can go and get objectives, but it's not really going to be a frontline fight or anything. It's going to be sitting back and it's going to be not doing all that much. Because of the Dreadwarden's fairly poor stats, you're going to see players start to take the Craven Huntmaster. It's a little bit more expensive. It costs 10 points more than the Dreadwarden does. But what it comes with is its shooting attack. The shooting attack is 2 shots at strength 4 with 1/3 damage, but at least that allows your Huntmaster to kind of sit in your back lines and maybe plink a few wounds off people, bringing down fighters back towards it and allowing them to act again. It allows it just to achieve just a little bit more during your games than the Dreadwarden would do otherwise. Finally, I've got here the Sons of Velmorn. Now, I've already talked quite a length about them in my review of the Bladeborn fighters, and I'm going to put the links in the description down below so you can actually check that out. But as a quick recap, effectively, they're all super cheap for their abilities. They all get the movement 3 discount. They have very good stats. They're very efficient for the points you're paying, especially the 3 Graveguard with the various weapons. You've got Jedron, who's still pretty much the cheapest tank in the game at toughness 5 and 30 wounds. And then you've got King Morlack, who again is doing decent damage for the points cost. It's worth remembering that in terms of allies, if you're going to ally in King Morlack, you bring him in, and then you can take any amount of the Sons of Velmorn as additional allies without taking up your ally slots just because King Morlack is in there. Again, taking a look at their abilities, so the ones that we're interested in really are the Sleepless Sentinel double. This one is sitting on Sir Jedron. It effectively, if he's within range, so 1 inch of King Morlack, he can pop his double, and it allows King Morlack to effectively evade most damage because he can't be targeted by melee attacks. This is very strong. It allows you to block up lanes of movement on the battlefield and really extends out the life of King Morlack, which allows the both of them as kind of a unit themselves to go and achieve quite a bit. Maybe he's going to go get treasure, he picks up the treasure, Morlack can't be attacked because of Jedron, he's just got another 30 wounds to chew through before he goes down. And secondly, the one we're interested in is summon undead minions. the Sons of Velmorn are already Soulblight Gravelords. They're part of that faction, and so they do come with some of the abilities that Soulblight Gravelords give. Summon Undead Minions is one of them. It allows you to effectively bring back your Soulblight Gravelord minions. And if we remind ourselves, we got Helmar, the Hewer, Thane, and Marshal Falk. They all have the minion remark. So King Morlach can, very much like Spectral Summon, bring them back towards him when he dies. They can get back into the fight, they can do more damage, and it just gives you a lot of utility when you're playing the game. And that's it really. Like I said, there are only about 40 heroes sitting in the Death Grand Alliance, and you really see the same ones time and time again, simply because those are the best ones for the job, or those are the ones that really give you most bang for your buck. Next time we're going to be taking a look at the Destruction Grand Alliance to see what they have. If you enjoyed what I put down, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know. Let me know if I've missed any allies out, if there are any that you like to use, if there are any that are your favorites, how you like to use them, and what different combos you can have in your lists. And with that, I will see you next time.